So the recording started now. I want to thank you all for attending our second community call. And today, it's going to be very interactive, and because we really want to gather the maximum feedback for the subject of moderation on Agora. That's coming in a few weeks. And before that, I would just share a few updates related to product, tech, and business-wise. So product has the most updates. We are working on the MVP prototype. It's going through a lot of changes, largely because we are still at very early phase. And I want to thank Chloe and Lisa for attending the 1 hour long user interviews and giving us the first feedbacks, which were really helpful. And we also showed the prototype to many other people, but more informally. And all the feedback, like we are still processing them, and so we are like right now we are also actively looking for more people to do more user interviews. So like please reach out if you're curious about the prototype. Very, very happy to try it with you. And then in terms of the other aspects, I'm just super glad to have met Elia and George and to welcome them to our project. Elia has been helping us, and she's a rising star in product design. Elia, I'll let you also introduce maybe yourself.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if I have a lot of things to say about this, but so I'm training with Memorizely, which is product design training organism. I have a business background, graduated from ESSEC, and I'm using both this business aspect and my newly product design training to help the team with the design of the MVP. So super excited to do more user interviews as well, to get more feedback. And yeah, very excited about the project.
Yeah, and George will also join us, like he explained before the recording. We will have a 3-day workshop next week. George, would you like to say something about that?
Yeah, so it's a kickoff workshop with the goal of creating 2 or 3 propositions that you want to go and test, and each proposition is kind of demonstrating a different angle or direction for the product. Maybe it's appealing to solving a different problem or to a different user group, and that way you can figure out which direction to start going in quite early. So yeah, it should be really exciting.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really important, especially at this stage. So we can really narrow down the options and
yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. And so for the next part, for the tech part, we have prepared a presentation as part of the NGI Trust Chain program. Nico, he presented it. It's basically really just about privacy. So for anyone who's interested to know more about online privacy and why cryptography, like zero knowledge proofs alone, aren't enough to protect it, although we do try to minimize data collection on our product. You should check this out. Nico, do you want to say something about that?
Yes, so it's a presentation that's meant for experts, but the beginning of the presentation is more accessible. And but if you're curious about the underlying technologies, it's interesting, I think. And what's interesting is to understand that privacy, as in anonymity, is extremely complex to create, but those exist on the internet and is currently only used by an exclusive amount of people who know how to protect their privacy. and usually they are the bad people or they are just paranoid. So basically, we think that privacy is normal and should be default for everyone. And if it's not, then it's going to be used by the bad guys, but not by the good guys. So that's why we are focused on that.
And we want to also provide some good practices for the community, for people who care about this.
Yes.
Yeah. And on another note, we are integrating with the RariMe identity wallet. So basically, this wallet can convert our physical passports into digital credentials. And but your sensitive personal information, you will always be saved securely on your wallet, so on your phone. And then you will be able to generate anonymous proofs. For example, anonymously proving that you're a human, not a bot, anonymously proving your citizenship with this wallet. And we are also looking for people to test this with their passports. So like, please reach out if you can already download it from their website. But if you would like us to help to guide you through the process, don't hesitate. And then we finally have an office. It's at Station F in Paris. It's what they call the world's largest startup campus. It's like a pretty cool space. So if you drop by in Paris, welcome like to join us, to visit us there. So now we are going to talk about moderation on Agora, and the goal of the call, but also in general, is really so that we can build a very fair moderation process, and we want to create the community guideline with everyone, with our users, because that's otherwise there's no point. And we want to also gather insight for a wider release next year. And just to provide you a little bit of the context, we are really inspired and believe in the plurality approach. But the plurality approach basically believes that we can channel the energy of diversity into progress instead of conflict with digital tools. And I think this says a lot about our moderation philosophy as well, because there are those who believe, the question of free speech versus safe space for inclusivity is like a forever debate, and there are people who think that you can have both, and it's either one extreme, one polar or the other. But here, our goal is really to try to harmonize that, to not censor people, but also to preserve diversity and make it a safe space, so that people won't start self-censoring, won't feel bad to engage. So that's the whole point. And our long-term vision for Agora is to achieve censorship resistance through a model called open data. The idea is that all the data, they will be public. They will be publicly available, open. Even other apps can be built with the same data, which means that, okay, we have a moderation service on our own product, but maybe people can build other products and with other moderation systems with in the same based on the same data. And however, our short-term goal is to provide auditable moderation, which means that for now we will still have a centralized server, and but we want to provide the ability for people to audit the moderation decisions. And we will do that through broadcasting proofs that something has been posted. We broadcast a proof to a decentralized protocol called Nostra. Maybe we can do another more technical call to discuss that. But basically, for now, the short-term process will be first, how to report content. Anyone can report content, and we will also introduce a basic AI tool to signal posts that may be problematic, to just make the job easier for us. And in terms of who can moderate, we are thinking that maybe the author of each thread can moderate, hide content, and however, like it's like what I mean, our current assumption, which may still change. And then, of course, it's the Agora moderation team. But basically, before I briefly talked about the proof broadcasting. So how it works is that whenever a user creates a post, the metadata, the proof, will be sent to Nostra. And we want to provide the entire history of all the posts that were posted and all the posts that were deleted and for what reason it was deleted. And for the moderation decisions, we want to, for now, we're just going to manually take a screenshot and put it in a Discord channel, in our Discord, and we created a new channel under the Agora one. And basically, you are all welcome to comment on these decisions and to audit what we've been doing. And for each post, for each proof, there will be a unique identifier, so you can also check that there are posts that were deleted. Now you can see why they were deleted and discuss about it in Discord. So enough about the process. For the moderation guideline, well, basically we also check out what other social media, including Blue Sky, are doing. And so we have decided for now created these categories. The first one is, well, illegal, basically really urgent requests that we need to deal with right away. For example, doxing other people's personal information or promoting terrorism, basically this kind of things, it will be dealt with first. And then there's antisocial, which including hate speech and discrimination based on race, gender, all these categories that are not necessarily illegal, but yeah, belong to this category. And it's more also up to debate. So that's why we want to make the process more transparent and actually discuss with the community about this. And then we have irrelevant posts. For example, if you are posting if you're creating a thread and then there are just really irrelevant answers, we would also invite people to help us, to get rid of those, to provide a better experience for everyone. And then there's spam, repeated content, and misinformation. If it's fake news, we are going to remove it. And then there's privacy. Maybe the post include some information that can identify someone. Then we will also hide it to protect the person. And then there's adult content, sexual, and there are others that we have not identified, but maybe there were some new cases. So that's about it. That's our current plan. And so now, you're welcome to provide any feedback, no matter if it's a process or guideline, or if you have any questions or concerns.
How would, out of interest, if a user flags one of these moderation concerns, who's responsible for reviewing them and moderating effectively?
Yeah, so for now, our plan is that the author of the thread will be notified. Let's say you create a discussion about like a current news, and then there are some posts that are irrelevant and you get notified. You will receive the notification first. And well, the Agora moderation team as well. yeah, so that's the current plan. However, there are also maybe some concerns about if it gives too much power to the creator of the thread. So that's why we are still hesitating about this, whether if we should give this power to the author of the thread. Yeah, I wonder what you think.
No, yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. If you look at how Polis do it, for example, it's very much Polis is a platform where the conversations are run by organizations who are responsible for their own moderation, right? So that makes sense here, I guess.
Mm.
And I also love the idea that you can, like, that you're super transparent and that you can see what was deleted and what was the reason and everything. I think it's super important.
Yeah,
I
I
have
think.
a question.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead, Nico.
I have a question about that. Like, is it important for you that the actual data is decentralized in a that the data can be accessible everywhere by everyone, or is it enough to just have a design, actually, like a presentation that presents the transparently the data was deleted, for example, and have also some kind of proof, like auditable moderation with the proof that is broadcast?
I'm actually not sure that the common user would make the difference
Yeah,
between the two. Like,
probably
even
that's true. Because it's not visible, so most people don't see the difference. Yeah, it's true. Interesting.
I think my experience. So I worked for a blockchain company for 2 years, and my experience that I kept on coming across was that for end users, unless it's really important, the blockchain aspect, basically users prefer for it to be abstracted away. So it should be traceable, and there should be a way to verify it. But in terms of the UX and what the user is experiencing, it should mostly be abstracted away.
Okay, it's not a blockchain, but yeah, it's the same spirit.
Yeah, exactly.
And how is moderation important for you when you use social media? Like, is it something you care about, you think about, or not much?
I think when I use social media, because maybe I never came across something that needed to be moderated, I don't really think about it. Like just randomly using social media. I think if you don't come across a case, maybe you don't think about it.
I also personally feel that I am just so used to seeing very shocking things or statements on social media, especially X, and I wonder. And in comparison, Blue Sky is a much cleaner experience. And however, I'm just wondering the impact this will have. And also I feel that maybe we should not just completely, like sanitize the platform, because that's not the goal. The goal is to provide also like a diversity. And yeah, so it's not easy to balance that, to balance the hate speech part with the or whether if we should allow this on the platform or just leave it for the creator of the thread to decide.
Yeah, I think there will be like a middle ground, right, where there'll be certain content that is blatantly, not okay, and then there's a lot more that's up to the kind of discretion of the moderators, and you can even flag content and provide keep it there and provide warnings to the user that it's been flagged or reported.
Mm.
I've seen some chat-based apps that have started implementing kind of guidance where they read the content of the message someone is typing, and if they see something really bad, they flag it while they're typing and say this is harmful or really negative language. That's another good way of trying to kind of reduce the problem at source.
Yeah, that also reminds me of again of on Blue Sky, users can set their own tolerance. So if you want to see extremist opinions, if you want to see it with a warning, or if you don't want to see it at all. So I think that's something that we can also introduce. Yeah.
And George, what you said remind me of an idea we had, which was to suggest the user to rephrase what they say, sometimes in a more respectful way. But that is at the same time a bit it's quite complex to do it right, and without hurting the user's feelings sometimes. It can be a lot of work, but I think it's a promising idea in the long term, in general on social media, because many times people write because they feel emotional about a subject, and well, we are humans, so we have emotions, but when you write something in writing, it can feel more harmful than it is in real life. So it is, yeah, it's complex issue. So maybe rewriting with AI can help us being a better communicator. I don't know.
Yeah, but I think it should not be like forced.
Yeah. We should not censor people. Like, it's not the point. Like, no, that's not what we wanted to do. Yeah. So that's why we gave up this idea. It was just an idea that we had once. But
yeah, I think as well there's a huge opportunity for educating and informing users on the topics that they're looking at, especially with AI. I know that there does have hallucinations and it's not always perfect, but it's getting much better. And there's a big opportunity with a lot of these discussions. A lot of it is just about education, right? If it's a complicated topic, and this is something where AI can be really helpful in providing context to the discussion. You can imagine, a little icon that's like, "What's this?" and it generates a prompt response. Yeah.
I'll jump in. So I've been exploring different use cases. So we met with a municipality here as well. So I think it really varies on the use case, if it's going to be for commercial purpose as well, government use. For instance, one of the municipalities here, they were, because obviously the elections are coming up soon here in the US, and there's the primary voting. So there were some of the statistics that were in question by one of the offices here. And for instance, information like that. So if there's statistics that are in question, the categories and how that will be moderated as well, so that the users would be able to trust the data. And then we could work closely with some of the municipalities and local government officials to offer credibility and value to the information that's circulating.
That's super cool. Have you talked to them? Like, what do you feel are the topics that are most interested in?
Yeah, I would say here, particularly in the US, because each country will be different. And I know we're exploring use cases also in Canada and in Ghana as well. But because of the previous election in 2020, how everything was so contested here in the US, they're drilling into the statistics by a political party, by affiliation, by making sure all the ballots are being tracked. So if they get lost in the mail, or what all those statistics are and where they're going, if they're being accounted for, if they're being tracked, because it's very easy for stakeholders or other actors on social media to then share misinformation about the statistics and contest elections or create or spread misinformation. So that's what we're exploring now, to see if that could be a particular use case for the platform that might make sense. Because too, even if journalists or other stakeholders get the information and they publish a story, and then it would be easy for another political candidate or actor to then say, you know, I don't trust the election, or I don't trust the democracy or the democratic process. So that's, what we're working on now, and making sure that, you know, everything's counted properly and statistically sound, and things aren't getting lost in the mail or unaccounted for.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, I've been discussing, he's a former judge actually. So I'm looking into that, and Musa and I are exploring several other use cases, but that's just one of them. And there's several other that I think would be relevant.
And you think that they're also that they're open to basically to engage with citizens in general, outside of the political parties?
So we're hopefully setting up a next meeting. It becomes challenging because when you say, you know, maybe some of the statistics could be off, you want to do it very confidentially. So we're discussing with the supervisor of elections here. And you don't want to allege that one thing or the other is wrong. You just want to offer a solution. So we're continuing the conversation. It sounds like they might be interested to potentially do a small use case, but we're still collecting the statistics. We're waiting for them to get back to us with the statistics of all the categories. Because there was the judge's, his vote got lost actually in the mail. So we're trying to see if there's others that this happened to as well.
And in terms of moderation, what do you feel that they cared most about?
So they'll want to see any spread of misinformation. So if it's happened to other people, or specifically other candidates are questioning the election or the voting process, they'll want to stop the conversation before, you know, negative hate speech could get out or misinformation. So right now they want to just make sure that they're tracking all of the statistics and that's getting communicated properly to the public, and people would, you know, care about it. And basically too, like, everything is open, but it's not like an open access like website or portal where people can just easily log into and see the data and trust it. It's very still top level, like these are the number of people that voted, this is the number of ballots that went out, and that's it. But there's so many other factors in the process.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, well, for now, in terms of misinformation, well, right now we can only do fact checking ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, and I think it can apply. Not maybe we just keep it very general for now, but if we can do a few small use cases, that's one that we're exploring here, then we can start to add additional features as we go.
Yeah, I also think that maybe well, having the Discord, or at least we have a space where this information just doesn't get like deleted forever from the internet, also creates an opportunity for you know, if for I don't know, for example, whistleblowers.
Yeah, I think this is helpful. And then also too, like, for instance, we recently had a public debate here in the US. So like you said, fact checking. So if a candidate or a public officer makes a claim, if there's, you know, conversation that's happening or it's spreading online, if it's true or not. Particularly, there was one candidate made about the immigrant population here in the US. So just detecting those with local city officials before those start to create more hate speech in certain communities.
Yeah. Yeah, that's super interesting. I feel like a lot of the moderation is really about how far do we do platforms let it go. Like it's a few days ago, I just came across a post that basically just says that climate change is a lie and so on. And it's like it's really sensitive to balance, yeah,
Mhm.
between misinformation and censorship. That's yeah, the main challenge.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think.
the challenge. Sorry, go ahead,
No,
Diana.
go ahead.
I just want to say that the challenge for us, besides moderation, is to design the app to show the innovation that compared to other apps, we are more transparent, right? And we are transparent not only in terms of showing this data that was deleted and so on, or having a way to see the data that has been hidden from the main page, except if it's privacy, for example. And at the same time, we also have another innovation, which is that every single data is digitally signed coming from a unique passport, basically. But we don't know which one. And that is quite interesting because as a elected official, like you can't, because of this technology, you can't realistically question that this data has been manipulated or not, because it can be cryptographically, so mathematically proven that it comes from an actual passport. So that innovation is quite interesting, I think, for this use case. It's just very hard to explain or to show in a way that makes sense for people who are not in tech. Yeah.
That makes sense. And to circle back, Yuting, I think from my perspective, we don't necessarily have to worry so much about the misinformation or citing or polarizing information one side or the other, but it was just looking at the statistics. So if we see, whether it's statistical sound or not, that can be more the conversation as opposed to saying it's one extreme or the other, or if it's if it's involving hate speech of some kind, we just say this isn't relevant or true information.
But for example, what would you feel about like climate change is a lie?
So you could say one could argue that climate change is a lie, but here is countering evidence. Here's other statistical evidence that are just giving a different opinion.
Yeah,
and
but
then give some facts that would present an alternative version.
yeah, I think that's important to let people, provide the sources.
Because we don't necessarily have to say your opinion's wrong, because I think people should still have the right to, if someone wants to believe climate change is a lie, we can't tell them that it's wrong or incorrect, but we can provide information, and that's all that I think we can technically do.
Yeah.
I know that X have their community notes feature, which basically outsources identifying misinformation.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Nico, do you think we can introduce it somehow?
I mean, it's all about priorities, but definitely it's an open source software, and we've already looked. I mean, it's one of the best feature, if not the best feature that ever Twitter has created. Very promising technology, I think. Collective intelligence uses collective intelligence to manage to find out the misinformation. But there are a lot of challenges with that. Is that it's from a legal perspective, sometimes it's too slow, and also from a Sybil resistant perspective, which means that on Twitter, especially, there are a lot of fake accounts. I think most of it is fake accounts, to be honest, because there is no ID verification, and you can create an account even without your phone number. So I don't really know why, but it's particularly prevalent on X. I don't know why. And this is completely screw the algorithm.
Yes.
Why?
Well, I think they do
Yeah.
that on purpose to, well, like you said, with the
Probably.
algorithm, and then promote a specific hashtag to get it to trend.
Yeah. Just
Top accounts, and that factors into the X business model.
Probably,
So they'll
yes.
charge hundreds of thousands of dollars to promote a hashtag, and
Yeah.
it may or may not be actual bots that are creating the algorithm to make it placed higher.
Allegedly, I mean, I have no proof, but definitely. And I think that community nodes, from a technical perspective, it does not work without CB resistance. So if you have, for example, like as we said, like 10 fake account and 1 real account that like or dislike a certain community node, then it just doesn't make sense anymore. So no matter how smart the algorithm is behind the scene, if it's not a real human who likes, then it just doesn't really work. You know, the clustering mechanism and so on. So yeah, you think you wanted to say something?
I also just shared in the chat, the surprisingly popular algorithm that we've been exploring. It's an alternative, let's say, for fact checking. So basically, how it works, like on Wikipedia, it also has a very classic example. You ask people, is Philadelphia the capital of Pennsylvania? And the majority of people say yes, and the minority say no. And then you ask them again, what do you think most people will respond to that question? And then you're going to have a difference. Basically, more people believe that others will also say yes, think that Philadelphia is the capital of Pennsylvania. And thus, the no answer is actually surprisingly popular. And that's because they are like a minority expert opinion. They know that, oh, Philadelphia is not the capital, but they think others would think that way. So
yeah, I think it's a bit complicated to understand, like, you know, but you should read it. It's really cool. And we can use that to also for fact checking. Anyway, but I don't think this is very important for now. I can think in terms of priority, we don't expect to have so many posts that we can't moderate it realistically ourselves for a certain amount of time. So I think in terms of priority, integrating these tools is absolutely not priority. I mean, it's not priority. It's gonna be easy to do it manually at the beginning.
Yeah, we don't expect, let's say, to moderate a lot since we are just beginning. But yeah, as it grows, also we also are curious about, you know, like how to grow a community of people who want to participate in the moderation process. And I think Reddit, for example, does a really amazing job of having a lot of volunteer moderators on their platform, and to provide very high quality content.
Question. So let's say somebody wants to participate and they don't have a passport. Would that be a limit for them to use the platform?
So this is also something that we are exploring now. And for now, like our original goal is that this is just temporary. We want to accept other forms of identity. But now passport is the only way that works with our current with Rarimo for now, and also because the official digital identities are not there yet, so we can't use that either. And however, there's always the possibility of letting people participate, although it will lower the level of verifiability.
Makes sense. Yes, well, passport is universal. I know a lot of people here in the US, they'll have maybe a driver's license or another form of ID card, but not a passport. And especially maybe like a voter registration or something of this nature. That might be something that we can consider in the future, is helping digitize some of that information as well.
Definitely.
I think the driver license is particularly nice because it's using a standard that is quite cool and could be easily compatible, I think, with Rarimo. It's good, yeah. But from a user perspective, I think scanning their passport is very scary, and it might scare off many people, and we don't want that. So weirdly, you know, we were talking about privacy before, and actually sharing your phone number is much more privacy invasive than using Rarimo to scan your passport. It's very interesting, right? But people don't know that. So people are used to share their phone number or to log in by verifying their phone number, for example. So it's something we could do, like to allow people to post, they have to verify their phone number. So phone number is quite identifying. So it's likely it's one person living in one country. It's likely it's not a bot. So that could be an option. But from a privacy perspective, it's really horrible. But people just don't understand that. So
yes,
yeah.
because we've been also you know basically talking about it with potential users, and basically scanning the passport to use a Rarimi part is well, the friction is not trivial for now. So if we see that it's well, for now we are still trying to push forward this more privacy preserving mechanism, and however we may still let people in the future to just verify with your phone number, but like with warnings. And well, it's less verifiable, it's less privacy preserving also.
It's just an idea, of course.
But it's just an idea, and yeah, we are just exploring.
Yeah,
what do you think?
I think it's going to vary by use case. So if there is a particular municipality that has interest, they might differ and they might have certain guidelines or rules that are different.
And for you, personally speaking, what do you feel like about this process of scanning passport?
I think it's pretty universal. It's international passport. So I think if you want to be a global or international platform, it makes sense. But people think of the first thing that comes to my mind is traveling. So like the same level of security going to an airport or getting a visa. Some people, like you said, it might create anxiety or whatever their underlying feelings are about that process already to begin with. And they might not have a passport, particularly if they're an immigrant or maybe they don't have status somewhere. So this might prevent certain users from registering. But I think just to start and keep it small, to make sure everything's verifiable until maybe there's an update on the protocol, I think this is a good place to start.
What about the others? What do you think about scanning your passport?
I think it does sound scary. So I don't use social media at all because I don't like the concept of it. So someone asking me to scan my passport for a service online. It does sound scary, but I feel like I could be convinced.
Yes, I mean, typically we would, it's just, I think a lot of it's the branding and the messaging of the platform and how we want it to be in the future. Because, for instance, like a financial institution, they'll request a certain high level of information, but it develops more trust and rapport for the individual and also the financial company to want to work together and do business and know that their information is protected.
But it's a paradox is that when you scan your passport, all the data stays locally on your phone, and the only thing that we get is a proof that doesn't do anything, that doesn't say anything. Whereas when you validate your phone number, you actually paste your phone number, and phone number is extremely identifying. We can know where you live, we can know your name, we can know many information about you. So it's the same as if you basically sent a photo of your passport. It's exactly the same at the end. But since when you actually scan your passport, everything is done behind the scene, and you have to trust this third-party application and the developer of this application.
Yeah.
This is very scary because the same app can be malicious and actually steal your information, and you don't know. And so, as a normal user, you just have to trust. And so that trust is hard. And Roini is just some app. Okay, they are well funded. They are recommended by Vitalik Buterin himself, the founder of Ethereum. But most people, don't trust. Many people don't trust the cryptocurrency space as well. So this is hard. This is difficult.
Yeah. Musa, do you want to add something? Yeah, but basically, I think for product also perspective, this part making users download another app that we tell them you download another app, it's an identity wallet, it's completely separate from our platform. I think in one way it can, like it makes sense, but at the same time, actually getting them to scan their passport with this, it's like, yeah, it's another thing.
Yeah, it might be difficult to, I understand a small use case for research and, depending on the actual like validation of the statistics and misinformation. But over time, once it starts scaling up, that's not really an ideal UX because you don't want to take them out of one platform to go into the next.
Yeah.
Everything should be consolidated in one place. And also, too, all of the data and information should be consolidated in one place and not through a third party.
Definitely.
Well, there is no data in third party. Again, it's an identity wallet, so it's just on your phone, just so you know. But I understand from a user perspective, you see another name, it's not the same brand, and also what you said at the beginning is very true. Like from a user perspective, it's much easier to just stay in the same app, and that's it. So, yeah.
Yeah. So we were even thinking about removing the registration process and let the users post from their wallet directly. This will be a smoother experience for people who already have the identity wallet.
However, it's technically very hard right now. So the long-term goal is to, like in 5 to 10 years, everybody will have a wallet, thanks to the regulation in Europe at least. So that could be possible at that time, but right now it's just not there. So
I think the Brianna's initial point she made about 10 minutes ago is a really good one, which is it's very dependent on the use case. If you're trying to make a social media app, then using a third-party tool to create a wallet, that would be quite alienating. But if you are, for example, creating a service like Polis, where organizations can interact with people, and the organizations are saying, hey, we need you to verify your identity, then people would be much more willing to, I think, go through a process like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think typically in some of the projects we worked on in collecting identifiable information from people, if you explain to them the purpose and how the data is being used, and if you're mentioning as well that you're not using it for commercial purpose or reselling it to a third party, generally people will either say yes or no, either way, but it gives them more comfort and familiarity.
Yeah, and also basically the personal information, they still stay on the user's device, so we don't even collect that. Or so we don't like ask people consent, can we have your birth date, whatever. Like there's nothing like that. So we only collect the age group, proving that you're between, for example, 18 and 30 years old, and proving that your citizenship for now.
Well, it's asked, I think, on the ROIMI app, they tell you that you're gonna share this information in an anonymous way. But still.
Yeah.
There are also some interesting approaches you could look at in terms of, you can make it so the app can be usable to a certain extent until it really is important that the identity is verified. Or you could also explore allowing users to interact with the app, but just making it clear that what they're doing is nowhere near as significant in terms of the way the data is presented, or present it in a different way. For example, there are other solutions to the problem.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Hi everyone, I will have to run. I have another meeting right now, so apologies for this, but thank you so much. I think it's been a very great conversation.
Yeah, then thank you. Thanks everyone.
Thank you. Thanks
And
everyone. Yeah, I think we are done now.
yeah, it also kind of deviated from
Yeah.
one direction to other topics, but it's really, really helpful to have your feedback.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing the first rollout.
Yeah.
So feel free to share
Cool.
this when it's ready, and yeah, I'll start testing on my side with the US passport. I actually, unfortunately, mine's still in the mail. I just renewed it, but I should have it shortly, and then I'll try with someone else's as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Brian.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks everyone. Have a
Thank
nice.
you. Bye-bye.
You. Bye.
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 Wait.